Good morning, everyone. We're going to get started here in probably about 10-15 minutes. I did want to let you know that there's lunches in the other room right behind me in the Smith room. Again, please grab a lunch and take it back to your table. And we'll get started in about 10-15 minutes. Thank you. All right, good morning, everyone. We're going to get started here. Thank you for joining us. Please continue to eat your lunch. I'm Nathan Cavedo, the Communications Officer here at the Merced County Office of Education, and on behalf of the Merced County Superintendent of Schools and the Merced County Board of Education, I want to thank you for joining us at our 14th annual Merced County Schools Annual Education Report. 14 years. And retired County Superintendent Dr. Steve Gomes is here. Steve, no, that's not me calling you. Steve, do you remember 14 years ago over at the Boys and Girls Club when we ran out of food? We've come a long way, but thank you, Dr. Gomes, for starting this. Okay, so if you've been to an event that I am presenting at and I'm on stage, you know what we're going to do right now, right? We're going to do a couple selfies. So I'm going to start over here. All of you look up and smile. Okay, now this side of the room. Okay, we got those. All right, thank you. Thank you for indulging me in that. And for those of you who have not been to this facility, welcome to the Downtown Professional Development Center. Most people know this as Mondo, here in the heart of downtown Merced. I'd like to thank Dr. Tejan, our county superintendent, for his vision of this professional development center for MCOE and the school districts we serve, not only in Merced County, but across the region, and honoring the history of Merced by revitalizing this beautiful building, along with one a few blocks down, Thorington. So thank you, Dr. Tejan. So we have a lot today. We have a packed schedule of an expert in improvement science, several videos, and a presentation about the state of our schools. But I'd like to start off by inviting some of our guests that are right through the glass door over here to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. So come on in, Weaver students. And I'd ask that you stand and remain standing. Come on, kids, up here. Flag's right back here, or right here. Okay. What?
Oh. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You may be seated. Okay, now we're going to change gears a little bit because we have a student performance. So, Dylan, give us about 1 minute here to move this off the stage. And Nate, if you can kill this line, got it.
Check, hey, hi.
Hi, thank you for inviting us here. My name is Janae Day. I have been a teacher at the Weaver District, School District this is my 23rd year. I started out at Weaver as a 6th grade teacher, and I became involved in the Weaver Performing Arts the second year that I was there, helping with costumes and things like that. I'm now a kindergarten teacher, and I've taken on the role of the director for the Weaver Performing Arts. And I have to tell you, our program is exceptional. I have seen where we started in the gym with one of our first Aladdin performances, an elephant carrying Aladdin through the gym onto the stage area. And every year we've gotten better. We moved from our gym to the Merced Playhouse, which didn't house very many people. And then we were very fortunate to be able to move to the Merced Theater, the Art Kaminger Center. So the last so many years we've been performing there yearly. And I'm really excited that we're putting on the Aladdin Junior play this year. The kids, we start in July. with our auditions, and we go all the way through March, which is the first week of our show. March the 7th and 8th are our public shows. The kids work super hard. They're working 3 times a week on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Saturdays. They've been practicing, rehearsing, and it's going to be a great show, so I'm hoping that, inviting all of you to come and check it out, because it's just gotten better. What our district has provided the community is just amazing. It's something to see. Really quick, too, I know I'm supposed to keep it really short, but I have a team of 50 to 75 adult volunteers. It's teaching staff. I've got a great booster group that has come on board the last couple years, and none of what we do could happen without that support. So on top of all the magic that takes place behind the scenes, or on stage, there's a lot of magic that takes place behind the scenes with our parents that are helping out and the staff. So we've brought 2 groups that are going to perform for you today. They're numbers from the show. And one is going to be an all-girl group with Jasmine and her handmaidens. We've got, this is Elena Chang. She's a handmaiden. We have Sienna Reed, Hayden Lockhart, and Michaela Yee. They're going to perform for you the first song called These Palace Walls. And after they're done, we have our other group, which is Aladdin and his sidekicks. This is Raiden Gastelum, Mia Hunt, Julian Lomeli, and Aurora Serena. So they'll be the second group performing for you. And thank you for having us.
Is it on? Yeah, I think they're on.
Princess, the outside world might be overwhelming for someone like you.
Oh, I think a little excursion would do her some good.
You do?
Sure. A taste of what's beyond these palace walls could be just what a princess needs. Told to show devotion every day.
Not second guess it. If a new emotion comes my way,
You suppress it.
what would be your suggestion? Stand on your own 2 feet.
And ask why a certain question keeps repeating.
Why shouldn't I fly so far from here? I know the girl I might become here. Follow your heart, or you might end up cold and careless.
Love comes to those who go and find it. If you've a dream, then stand behind it.
Maybe there's more beyond these palace walls. What if I dared? What if I tried? Am I prepared for what's outside? Why shouldn't I fly so far from here? Something awaits beyond these palace walls. Something waits beyond these palace walls. True friends, no phonies, me and my cronies.
Babcock,
Omar, Aladdin, Kasim. For friends, none closer.
get mad. Heck no, sir.
Not us for strong, a permanent team. For friends that go living in Agrabah. Running off the musical steam.
To stay.
This lazy and play like crazy.
Babcock,
Omar, Aladdin, Kasim. For bums, none better. Not one go-getter.
I'm motivated in the extreme. Don't say, hey, go, we're living in Agrabah. Grow up, go earn the city's esteem. We say, tough noogie, no way, let's boogie. Babcock, Omar, Aladdin, Kasim. We're friends down past the turban in Agrabah. Agrabah, for letting off some musical steam. Oh, that's our finale. K-Pals, let's blow the zelly. Babcock, Omar, Aladdin, and how's that so far? Not bad in it. 8 eyes with one impertinent gleam. Babcock, Omar, Aladdin, Kasim. Woo.
Well, thank them. Let's give them another round of applause. So I do want to say thanks to the folks who are streaming online. You're in one of those cameras that I'm looking at. And this QR code behind me, you can purchase tickets directly there for the March 7th and 8th public performances of Aladdin Jr. by Weaver. And I've been to nearly every one of their shows for the past decade. Phenomenal student performers. So another round of applause for them. Okay. Moving on, our sponsors today are Stiefel, Educational Employees Credit Union, Merced School Employees Federal Credit Union, Travis Credit Union, and SKW Associates. We have representatives from the 3 credit unions here today. CEO of EECU, wow, that's a lot of acronyms, Elizabeth Dooley. Thank you so much, Elizabeth, for being here, right here. CEO of Merced School Employees Federal Credit Union. I cannot say that acronym. The MSEF, I can't say it. Nancy Devers is here. Thank you so much. The Youth Community Engagement Officer, Stuart Pimentia from Travis Credit Union is here. Travis, there we go. And Bruce Kearns and Erica are here from Stiefel, our longtime supporters. Stiefel has supported us since that first report 14 years ago and has supported every single report, so I thank you for that. Okay, we have some other honored guests in the room. If you are a current or retired school superintendent, please stand. I know we've got a handful of superintendents in here. Thank you so much for being here. If you are a school board trustee, please stand. And you know what? If you're just an educator, please stand.
Never say just.
If you are an educator, there's so many in this room as I look around. We do have some elected officials in the room as well from the Merced City Council. Mike Harris, Ronnie Deanda, Darren DuPont, Sarah Boyle, and Shane Smith. Holy cow, we got nearly the entire city council here. Thank you for coming. From the Merced County Board of Supervisors, Darren McDaniel, Scott Silvera, Jim Pacheco, and Josh Pedrozo, and nearly the entire County Board of Supervisors. Is there anyone that I missed? That's always like the embarrassing part. Okay. So, with all of that, I'm going to turn this over to the Merced County Superintendent of Schools, Dr. Steve Tejan.
Thank you, Nathan. Good morning and welcome everyone for joining us today. We're so excited that you could be here to learn more about our schools and what's happening across Merced County. A lot of work goes into planning and the production of the report, and the videos and the event itself. So I'd like to start by thanking the MCOE communication staff here. That includes Stacy Arancibia, Patty Espinoza, Odessa Osby. They all managed the event itself, and you probably met them as you came in the door or as you grabbed your lunch. Alex Putzes and Kathleen Ochoa, who designed and organized much of the materials in the report, and Nate Gomes and Dylan McMullen, who are in charge of producing the videos that we'll soon view. We've got quite a team here at MCOE that's getting a reputation not only here in Merced County but across the state. And so if you want them to do some work for your district, you got to get a hold of them early because they're getting booked up. In my 40 years here working in education, one thing that remains constant is change. And the county office role in education is constantly changing. While the report does give you a page that tells you about what we do and what we don't do, many times the things that are unsaid are really, really the most important. Providing leadership at multiple levels in the local community, operating early learning, alternative and special education programs for children, and advocating for state and federal education policies with a local focus, and especially collaborating with local agencies and organizations to be a voice for children. Many of you are aware of our work with the district attorney's office over the past year. We're ready to push a restart on that again and do another campaign to try to make sure our children avoid the dangers of fentanyl in our communities. So we're excited about those kinds of relationships we've built over the years. Who do we serve? Well, we serve as a county office 20 school districts as well as programs that we run ourselves. The children we serve typically self-identify here in Merced County largely as Hispanic and Latino across the entire county, with more than 75% of our student population, as you can see in the report. The graduation rate is higher here in Merced County than across the state, which we're very proud of, and it's been so for the last decade or so. Unlike coastal counties, our county demographics are a little different. We're different than the urbanized and coastal communities. We have a high number of socioeconomically disadvantaged children and families in our community. We have a high percentage of English learners, and we have a slightly higher population of students with special needs than the percentage you'd find in other parts of the state. Our college-going rate is lower than some other parts of California, and so we work closely with our partners at institutes of higher education to reduce the barriers for our students. And I'd like to thank both our Merced College colleagues as well as our UC Merced colleagues that are here today for the work that they do to make sure that those colleges are accessible to students from here in Merced County. Each year, our report details information about our schools, but focuses on a specific area. This year, the focus is improvement science, because we know how data-informed decision-making can benefit students. We have a special guest today who's an expert, so the pressure's off me. I don't have to be very good, because we have a special guest today, Brandon Bennett, who's going to come up in just a moment and speak with you about improvement science. Brandon has been an advisor, teacher, and author who helps organizations in healthcare, education, and social welfare improve outcomes for the communities and individuals they serve. He's been working here in Merced County for the last 2.5 years. Brandon teaches advanced improvement methods and partners on a range of global initiatives, including disease-specific processes, academic outcomes for students with disabilities, and countrywide improvement efforts. Brandon is the author of Journey to Improvement and Improvement Science at Your Fingertips, two of the books that we've been using here in Merced County, as well as several results-based and methodological papers on the application of improvement science methods. He has been a featured speaker at quality conferences around the world. Let's welcome Brandon Bennett.
Good morning, everybody. Thanks for having me. Was there a clicker up here at one point? It was here. We'll get it in just a moment. How's everybody doing? Good? Yeah? All right. Thank you so much. So I'm the main entertainment. I'll do my best to be a little more entertaining as we go forward. Really delighted to be with you all. Those of you who have seen me here before know that I grew up just down the road. I grew up in Fresno, California. I now live in San Francisco. And as Steve mentioned, I've worked in a variety of settings, but I'm a latecomer to education. I started off my career in public health and in healthcare. I still serve as faculty for the Institute for Healthcare Improvement, based out of Boston, Massachusetts, as well as was a senior fellow at the at the Carnegie Foundation for the Advancement of Teaching, where I helped to start bringing improvement science methods into the field of education. Just a little bit about where I've worked. You get a feel for places in the world where I've worked and lived. So globally, I've worked around the world, and in the States, worked in a lot of different places, but always trying to take the good word of improvement to new places, places where people are in need and where social systems could be better and could serve their populations better. So anytime there's an opportunity to do that, I want to be out there kind of doing that. Today we're going to be talking about systems, and it's really at the heart of the science of improvement. And we kind of think of systems as the air we breathe or the sort of water that we swim in, right? And systems really are this thing that as improvement scientists we believe have a profound influence on the outcomes that we observe. And yet they are incredibly difficult to see, right? They're incredibly difficult to see and perceive. And so my talk today is really going to talk about how do we do that, and to show you a couple of examples. So how many of you, if you were traveling in the United States, would choose to go by train? Just raise your hand if you would go by train. Like 1, 2 people, train aficionados, right? Like there's a few people who are like, yeah, I would go by train. And the rest of you probably wouldn't, and probably you wouldn't, because our train system for passenger travel in this country looks like this, right? So when you think of all the places you would like to go in our country, and then you think of what train could get me there, the answer is there probably isn't one, right? It doesn't get you where you want to go, right? Systems control outcomes. If you're going to go by train, there's only a few places you can get to in the United States, and it's why we would consider other forms of travel. If I were to show you this picture for Europe, this is what it looks like. If we can, I'm not sure this is working, but can someone advance the slide for me? Great. All right. This is the passenger rail system of Europe. Okay. If I'm in Europe, it's very natural to just take a train. Jump on a train, there's one every few minutes, it goes everywhere I want to go, right? It's a totally different system, right? Let's click one more time. What system have we built? This is our highway system. So in this country, about the same size as Europe as it extends east, if I want to go somewhere, I'm probably going to jump in my car, right? And you're probably the same way. The systems that we choose to build, the systems that we inherit, these are the systems that have profound influences on the outcomes that we experience, right? And that's really, really big. So in the context of education, we want to sort of look into systems. Can you keep advancing? You want me to just tell you when to advance slides? Yeah, great. Okay, advance to slide 1. And I want to teach, the first one I want to tell you about is the Beginning Teachers Effectiveness Network. This was the very first network that focused on the use of improvement science in education. It started back in 2011, and we had a real big problem at that time in this country. For those of you who are educators, you know we still have this problem today. It's the retention of new teachers in the profession of teaching. 1988, the total number of years that a person had been teaching in a classroom in the United States was 14 years. By 2007, that number had dropped to 1 year. Right? The average career span for a teacher is about 3 years before people leave the profession. So when we hear like our teacher who came up earlier and said, I've been here for 23 years, I wanted to get up and clap, because that is increasingly a rare thing in our profession and a big deal for us. Well, we wanted to work on this issue, and one of our partners was Jared Bolte in Baltimore City Schools. And he wanted to see the system. And he hypothesized that new teachers in particular, were not getting enough supports. They were feeling under-supported, and therefore they were feeling overwhelmed by their job, and they were leaving the profession. So Jared and I were working together, and I said, Jared, why don't we try to understand the system that's producing this teacher leaving? Let's try to figure out what types of supports teachers are getting. So if you click the next slide, do so twice for me, please, just one more. There you go. Jared put a little survey outside of new teachers' doors, and anybody who was coming in to support a new teacher was required to sign in and say what they were there to support, whether it was math education, science, English, whatever. And then after that, he built this picture. This is a picture of all the people who came into a single classroom in 1 month to support a new teacher. So his hypothesis about what was causing teacher leaving, a lack of support, was totally wrong, right? And his hypothesis about what to do about that, provide more training and accountability for new teachers to do what they needed to do, was wrong. Instead, what he found was that teachers were over-supported in an uncoordinated fashion, right? That's what this picture showed him. It was incredible insight to see the system, to be able to observe for the first time what was going on. So let's continue on from there, and I want to talk about the next slide for just a moment. We have this saying, and Steve will probably bring this up again, but every system is perfectly designed to achieve exactly the results it gets, right? However our systems are today, whether they're inherited, intentionally designed, organically grown, they are producing observable results. And those results are the result of the design, right? And if we want different results, then we need different designs. That is at the heart, the fundamental understanding of improvement science, that we would do that. So I want to take you through a case where that was particularly important and where data was helpful for seeing into a system and seeing how we can see systems. So if we click forward one more time. So how do we see the systems? Click again. So generally there's these two views that we can use to see systems, right? One view is a hierarchical sort of power-based view. That's the one on the right. It's our org chart. Most of us have one of these on the wall somewhere or in a binder, maybe up on the shelf collecting dust. These days it's probably more like in a Google Doc or an Excel file or something, right? And this really shows us a structure of a system from a power dynamic, right? But another way to see a system is how it's put together. What are the interdependencies that exist? Who does what? What are the activities that happen? And that's what you see on the right-hand side. That's a systems map, okay? So this is a critical shift from who has power over who to what is happening where and who is doing that work. And how does that work relate to the other work of the system? So systems mapping becomes a key tool for us. So we're going to click forward. And I wanted to introduce that concept because I wanted to introduce you to an organization called MEDIC that provides emergency medical services for Mecklenburg County, the area that encompasses and surrounds Charlotte, North Carolina. So one of my former students, Joe Penner, was the executive director of MEDIC for many years. And MEDIC had a history of being sort of top of class in emergency medical services. How many of you would like to have really high class emergency medical services? Yeah, we would all love that, right? Well, the sort of gold standard for knowing if you have good emergency medical services is what % of people survive a heart attack, right? And the best in the whole United States, best in the world, is Seattle, Washington. About 1 out of every 2 people who has a heart attack somewhere out on the street is reached in time to be saved. Incredible. Second only to them is Mecklenburg County MEDIC, okay? I don't want to tell you where I live in San Francisco what it is, but it's not 1 and 2, okay? All right, okay. All right. So Joe said, I want to get better. I want to get better at this, but I need to understand my system. So next slide, he went and worked to map his system. So he created a systems map to understand all of the different things that MEDIC does every day to produce cardiac survival, right? Which is basically responding to emergencies when they occur. But what are the things that need to happen? And I'm not going to go through this in detail, but this chart then produced data. So from this, he said, for each one of those boxes, is there some way, Brandon, that we could measure this? And so we learned some data tools. So we're going to click through to another slide that's going to look like chaos to you. Oh my gosh. This to you looks like nothing you want to hang on your wall, right? You don't want this up in your house as art. But to Joe, this is perhaps the prettiest picture he had ever seen or created. because it gave him insight into the relationships, the interdependencies that work in his system. So I want you to click once, and we're going to highlight the box on cardiac survival. So that's right there. And you can see here cardiac survival at Mecklenburg County is just under Seattle at 49% on average. So that's that 0.49. And that is what everyone cares about, right? But no one knows, right? No one's ever reading about that. But that's a big deal. So using that systems map, Joe said, well, what controls cardiac survival? So if you were to go upstream, what would you say? It's probably how fast we get to a person who is in need of care, right? So if we click again, we know that there's a direct relationship between response time and cardiac survival. So that's well proven in the literature. So we take a look at that, and we see, well, that takes them about 1 minute and 20 seconds from the time that there's a call to 911 to the time that there's a provider on site in Mecklenburg County. Now, Mecklenburg County is pretty big, right? So how do they do that? That's important. That's part of management, right? Well, you might notice that at one point it got a little slower. You see that red dot up in the corner there? Yeah, Joe didn't like that. So I said, I wonder what could be causing that. So what would cause us to slow down? Well, when our ambulances are out of service, right? So if we click again, we can see on this same picture unscheduled vehicle repairs. So at a glance, Joe, as the executive director of this organization, he can say, well, what I really care about is cardiac survival. And I could tell my ambulance drivers, drive faster, right? Work harder. I'm going to hold you accountable to meeting the 1 minute and 20 second mark. But if I have an unstable, unsustainable vehicle repair system, that will never work. That will never work. So as a systems leader, I have to understand that. And I have to be able to trace through my system to find where the problem really exists so that I can fix it. All right, we're going to leave medic here for a second and talk about does it work and how do we go about changing it. Okay? So how we change it, and we'll click through to the next slide here, is we go on improvement journeys. So one more for us. Great. All right. So that last one there, if we already knew what to do, we would have done it already. It's sort of an ethos for us in improvement. So remember what I said? Every system is perfectly designed to achieve exactly the results it gets. If we knew how to get better outcomes, we would have already done it. Right? We're not lazy or negligent individuals. We would have gone and done it, particularly in the social sector where it's our job to serve the population. So that must mean that we don't know how to do it. We don't know how to produce the outcomes that we want, which means we need a learning journey. We need to go on a journey to learn how to get better. And so that's really what this journey is all about. So it's a journey to improvement that's focused on launching teams, focused on problems of practice, where we can learn and practice, and we can sort of refine our learning before we implement what works for our systems. It looks very linear, and if you click once, you'll see that, of course, it is not. Life is messy, right? And often learning means failure. And so we try something and it doesn't work. And so we have to adjust, and we have to sidestep and move backwards and refine our theories and so forth. And we won't go into the details of all of that today. But if you're interested in reading more, you can check out the book. All right, so does it work is the real question. Does improvement science produce outcomes? So I wanted to talk about a quick case here to wrap up in the state of California. So if we click through, we're going to click one more time. We're going to talk about the challenges with special education here in California. So in California, we have almost 750,000 students who have been classified as in need of special education. And every one of those students requires what's called an IEP, or an individualized education program. All of my educators out there know these very, very well and deal with them on a daily basis. So if we click one more time, and one more time after that. Each of those programs that are developed for each individual student is a contract between the state of California and the family of that student that says we are going to provide certain services, and in exchange your student is going to achieve certain goals, and those goals are written down and they are articulated, right? Well, it turns out that in the state of California, 62% of those goals are not met. At least 2 years ago that was true, okay? 62%. So 38% of goals are met. By law, we're supposed to meet 100%. Right? So we got a real problem on our hands. We have a system perfectly designed to not give us what we want, right? So our outcomes are what you can see there, and it pushes us into a place where we really need improvement. So click forward again. We launched a network to focus on this, to raise IEP goal completion rates from 38% to 100%. That's the focus of the System Improvement Lead's work that's happening right now in the state of California. And we launched this work about 5 years ago, and if we click through one more time, we can see what we've accomplished so far. From 38%, we've risen to 58% in IEP goal completion. This is a substantial improvement, right? As far as we can understand, prior to this network, no one had even measured. So first of all, we now have insights into what the system is doing. Second of all, we've had a massive improvement for students with disabilities. Very, very exciting work that's happening. If you want to learn more, come find me afterwards. Right? So let's click through. What is Merced getting into? So Merced, as Steve mentioned, I've been here for a couple of years. We've been talking about improvement and thinking about where we might apply it here in Merced County. And there's a couple of places that I want you to get excited about and maybe talk to Steve about afterwards. We'll click through one more time just to wrap us up. One is multilingual learners. So this year, there's a whole group of LEA's districts here in Merced County that are focused together on using improvement science to change outcomes for our multilingual learners. Focused on improving reclassification rates, which deals with their English fluency, improving graduation rates, improving A to G completion rates so that those students will qualify to go to universities here in the state of California. And also the MCOE is partnering on some design work for an emerging network across the state of California focused on reducing chronic absenteeism. Probably one of the biggest problems in the state right now, leading to major fiscal impacts for our schools and to, of course, worse outcomes for our students. So really, really exciting stuff is happening. That's a very brief overview of improvement. And now back over to Steve.
Thank you, Brandon. I'm going to be a little off script because I want to just talk a little bit about what Brandon just mentioned in terms of the work being done here locally. We took a look at data last year around the reclassification rates of students that come to school speaking Spanish as their primary language at home. And we identified where in our county reclassification rates are above average. And then we took a look at A through G completion rates as well for those high school districts that the elementaries fed into. And guess what we discovered? That when students are reclassified earlier, those high schools have higher A through G completion rates. And so this year, one of the things we've asked our partner school districts to do is take the journey with us to identify how we can improve our English language development systems and reclassification process so that those students that come to school speaking a language other than English at home have better access, more opportunity to get to that 4-year program or a career program that will pay them a living wage. So Brandon, thank you for the work you've done for us and bringing us along on the journey. And we look forward to more years of this work because we admitted a really scary thing. We don't always have the answer, right? That's kind of scary, but it's true. So MCOE has embraced this philosophy and the principles of improvement science and put those principles into practice. We have some incredibly bright spots here in Merced County that really demonstrate how simultaneously focusing on the system and focusing on data that's generated by the system can help us make changes in student outcomes. It really is my pleasure today to introduce all of you to a handful of very passionate and committed educators in Merced County. The talented video production crew at MCOE put together 2 videos that showcase some of those positive outliers in Merced County. We're going to hear stories about how one school improved their math outcomes with support from the county office staff, and how another school improved attendance by focusing on some of their youngest students. And finally, we're going to hear about another school district that has improved outcomes for students in both English language arts and math, far beyond the norm that's expected by the state when you look at the socioeconomic band in which they're measured. So let's take a look at this first video. Hello, my name is Steve Teachin. I am the Merced County Superintendent of Schools. Thank you for joining us today to learn more about system improvement and the use of data as we work to improve our school systems here in Merced County. I'm excited to talk about this topic because it is so important to where we've been and where we're going in our Merced County schools. As you've probably heard or have read in the past, every system is perfectly designed to get the result that it does get. And so the work that we're focused on today in our support of schools and our own programs is to look at data, student data, and other kinds of process data to help us redesign systems to achieve the best possible outcomes for our students and children here in Merced County.
Prior to the school year starting, we are blessed that as a school counseling team, we're able to meet to have those conversations on our data and look at the previous year data and determine the students who were chronically absent the year prior and move forward for the next school year so we could be ready when we start the school year to start sending out counseling permission slips and inviting these students into those groups. In those groups, students are with the school counselor 6 to 8 weeks where we talk about the importance of coming to school, your responsibility as a student for coming to school and your family's responsibility. And really making it a priority that we're not only supporting students' attendance, but we make sure that we're supporting social emotional behavior, because at the end of the day, everything's connected and we want students to know that we're here for them.
We want our families to be engaged in their child's education, so we do our very best to make sure that they are informed. I share that data monthly to our committees and our parents through newsletters and using Parent Square, so they're aware of what our chronic absenteeism and what our goal is. We look at our district assessment, which is our iReady assessment that we look quarterly. We also look at our Acadience, which is reading fluency, sounding words, letter recognition. So we look at data as much as we can to support trying to lower the achievement gap. That's the main thing. I mean, if we don't look at data and their support, because that drives the instruction for our teachers, looking at data and seeing where the deficit is for our students. Our goal is to see growth in our students. If there is a 10% growth in our students, then we're doing our job.
One thing that I'm very proud of at Franklin School is that we don't just test kids to test kids. We really use the data to drive our instruction. During collaboration, whether it's CFAs, which are done biweekly, or it's district testing, we sit down, we look at the data, we see where the gaps are, we see which group of students need to have a reteach. Our assessments really guide our instruction. We're not just testing to test kids, we're actually doing something with it. We take it, we look at it, we analyze it, and we plan based on the results of that testing.
Our schools have been under immense pressure over the last 40 years relative to student test data. And what we've come to understand here is that we really need to use data to help improve students on a daily basis, not once a year. And so what we're about now is taking a look at various data points. And fortunately, today in the 21st century, we have lots and lots of ways to collect data. It's all kinds of data relative to a student's growth, a student's attendance. We can take a look at all of those data points and help put a better picture together for teachers regarding what that child needs.
Socioeconomically disadvantaged student group here in the Winton School District is 93%, and our English learners are at 48%. The school district uses the data to identify learning gaps. They use the data to give students the support needed in the intervention classes. Data also helps us with our absenteeism rates. We take a look at what's happening to our students, why aren't they here in school, and it all comes down to the system. What are we doing to ensure that our students are here? It goes back to the system of what are we doing in the classroom to ensure our students are getting the success they need.
Data is being analyzed at every level. So we think about the district office level, and we're kind of looking at the whole district. Everything matters, even down to the data of who ate lunch today, who had breakfast today. it all matters. And I think it's that team effort that we have, and that we are using that data in a valuable way to make decisions for our students every day, and decisions that will affect their future.
A lot of our data, especially in my classroom, if I look at their scores and I see, hey, this is an area that they need a little bit of extra help in, I use that data to make sure it helps me keep informed about decisions I make, whether they might need to go and get support with another teacher. So the monitoring, it helps us to figure out if there's any emerging issues, and it could be in academics, it could be behavioral. So data, whether it be attendance, whether it be math, it definitely helps drive our decisions in their learning.
Here at Frank Sparks School, we have what we call shared data. So every quarter, the teachers turn in the progress of their class, and all the teaching staff get to see how each class is doing. The shared data that all teaching staff can see holds everybody accountable for the learning of all kids.
Is 8 and 9, you can see very quickly how those three districts are making a difference for their students. I want to just call out, since they're here today in the audience, Livingston Union Elementary, where are you, Andres and your team? Thank you very much for sharing on-screen talent today. And Juliana and your team from Merced City, thank you very much. And your folks from Franklin School. And Winton C., thank you very much for lending us your staff as well. So, as you see there in the report, chronic absenteeism continues to be a problem. From the pandemic forward, we've seen chronic absenteeism jump to over 35% in 21-22. And here in Merced County, it's coming down now to about 20%, pretty close to the state average. If you take a look at counties around us, it's a little higher than that because of the ag-based economies that we have. It's a big lift to try to get families back into school who've built a different habit during those 2 years of the pandemic. So that work continues. And you'll hear more about that in the next video as we talk about the relationships and school culture that gets built through all the work we do every day in our schools. As you've heard from Brandon, improvement science asks us to look at data points not just necessarily considered typically by our systems in the past. It asks us to look at other kinds of data by collecting data through empathy interviews, by collecting data by looking at, as one of our speakers in the video said, things like who's coming early enough to have lunch, breakfast and lunch in our schools. Are they prepared to learn? So that's the kind of data that we're asking our school districts to really dig into. If you listen carefully to this next video, you'll hear about the importance of relationships, empathy, family support, a growth mindset, and putting a high value on what everyone brings to the table. Let's take a look at that video. We know that probably the biggest indicator of engagement at school is creating relationships between the teacher and the child, but it's also about creating a relationship between the teacher and the parent. Because so many of our families here in Merced County come from a diversity of cultures, we have to go above and beyond what has maybe been the traditional role of teacher, authority in the classroom, to teacher and social worker who create a net of support for that child and that family to feel welcome to come into the school, to understand expectations, and then support the child at home.
What I love about Livingston is that I serve a community of dreamers. And I say that because our parents send their kids to our schools with great dreams, great aspirations. Parent engagement has been a priority for us for many years. As a district, we've invested in bringing parents into our schools. The goal is to have parents truly be our partners in the work that we do in our schools. One of our core values in Livingston is people, not programs, make the real difference. If our students feel welcomed, appreciated, respected, and valued, they will not only come to school, but also they'll be excited about learning.
One of the areas that I enjoy the most is supervising student attendance. If parents feel their children are going to a safe, caring school environment, then they're going to send them to school with full confidence. Everybody in the school environment plays a key role in creating that environment where kids feel like, hey, this is a good place to be.
If I had to say one thing that has made a difference in our attendance or attribute our success, it would be relationships. And it starts when they walk in the door in their classrooms. At the beginning of the school year, we hold meetings with our teachers where we emphasize the importance of greeting our students. We also have our second step lessons that teachers do. Every Monday, there's a new lesson, and throughout the week, they reinforce that lesson where they're talking about empathy, problem solving. So there's different things happening that are really contributing to that positive culture in our school and making a difference for attendance.
One of the key things that we do here at Campus Park is we really try to connect with our parents on a very personal level. We're constantly using Facebook, Instagram, our Parent Square, Class Dojo, all of the different platforms to reach our parents. And then I have a fabulous team here at Campus Park. I get to brag about my teachers. I get to brag about my support staff because this work cannot be done with just one person. It takes a team effort.
One thing that I do want to say is that it's not just the counseling, it's as a whole. We really work towards making sure that this is a home away from home for our students and that they know that we're going to take care of them.
Building those relationships with our parents, I feel like that's brought me a long way. It's not like you're just a parent, we're a person now in the district, you're one of us. So making them feel like they're one of us, they're part of our team, it brings a lot of change. It brings a lot of enthusiasm in the aspects of how they contribute and how they can better support our schools.
We're seeing districts put a lot of resources into parent outreach to make sure that parents are connected to the school so that their children are connected to the school. And so having that early connection to a parent to help that parent understand how important it is to be at school every day has been a critical factor in seeing early school success.
So Franklin elementary teachers focus on making school fun, especially because we have TK through third grade. Fun is kind of what they enjoy. So we focus on bringing that out. I think the reason for their performance is the growth mindset that the teachers have. The district will provide programs or opportunities for our students to strengthen their education.
So here in the Winton School District, we do believe that family is a valuable asset. Our parents are huge in the support, and we value everything that they can bring to the table. We value and appreciate every staff member in this district, and they play a pivotal role in ensuring the success for our students.
I believe one of the many ways that we're successful here at Frank Sparks, especially in ELA and math, is that teachers here, we collaborate, we work together, and at Winton, we're just a team. We tailor our instruction to individual students to make sure that we are meeting their learning needs so that they can achieve their fullest potential.
At Frank Sparks School, we don't see socioeconomic factors and language barriers as challenges. I feel all kids can learn, and I feel that they need to be exposed to a high quality education, and that's the key to success.
As you've seen from the videos, our districts are really using data to change outcomes for students. They're taking a look at their system, and they're using that data to improve individual parts of systems that create a bigger change than any one specific action. And we're excited about that, and we're excited to support it here in Merced County. That applause is for the school districts that participated. Thank you so much for lending that insight to the program today. So as we think about the county office and where we're going to head next, let's talk about the rest of the report. You know, I probably should break here and have you have a table conversation about improvement science and what you think of it and what are the data we might look for, but I don't want to have you here beyond 1 o'clock, so we're going to keep rolling. But as you look at that, the videos, you get a sense that we're looking way beyond the last century version of school accountability, which was, look at a test score once a year. We've got to look at data every day, every week. So let's talk about the rest of the report. So student events is something that we engage in here at MCOE to support all 20 districts, and there are 13 special events each year with nearly 7,700 students attending and participating. That's actually more than 10% of the students in our county participate in our special events across the year. Students that win these county competitions then have the opportunity to compete at a higher level, typically at the state level, and anytime a student has a chance to engage in a competition or a performance, you know that's something that's going to stick with them for life. The children that perform today are going to remember that. So we've grown the number of special events that focus on visual and performing arts in the last several years. We've added the children's choir. We've added the honor choir. We're coming up right on Poetry Out Loud. It'll be a week from Saturday? Saturday. Poetry Out Loud at the MAC. And of course, our children's concerts that we've been doing with the Merced Symphony for years. This past year in 2024, Merced County's own Rashab Saha made it to the Scripps National Spelling Bee in Washington, D.C., where he placed 7th in the nation. So congratulations to Rashab. One of Merced City's finest young spellers. We had a little competition with him to start our kickoff this year. He got to outspell my cabinet, and Rashab won easily. So the next section of our booklet today talks a little bit about career education in Merced County. It outlines how many students across the districts have achieved a career pathway as part of their high school program. We know that many of our kids need to be prepared to go to work right out of high school. And so our high school district, our largest high school district, has made that a focus to have students connected to a pathway as part of their program. And we're seeing that across all of our high schools here in Merced County. The county office role many times is to add on, and so we provide programs through our own Empower program and our ROP programs that support our smaller high schools, as well as the Workforce Investment Board and the work we do to try to train adults every year. Another very successful partnership with our community is our probation partnership with what we call the Phoenix Project, where we provide training and support for formally adjudicated adults who are looking to get some job training, perhaps a high school diploma, and then get a job placement of some kind. And talk about a moving ceremony once a year or twice a year. We have ceremonies for those students that have gone through the Phoenix Project, and I tell you what, pretty incredible. So another one of our programs that we're excited about, of course, you all know Camp Green Meadows. How many of you attended Camp Green Meadows? All right, about half the audience. How many of you are sending kids to Camp Green Meadows? Should be everybody. Camp Green Meadows has been around for 60 years now. We celebrated 60 years this past fall of providing education, outdoor education for students up at Camp Green Meadows. We serve about 4,500 children a year. Some of those are from outside the county because some of our county schools don't use Camp Green Meadows. So a little pressure there for those of you who don't. But Camp Green Meadows is a great experience, and it provides children with life-changing experiences once again outside the classroom. We've also been busy with early education. You'll know from several years ago we focused on early ed and the challenges of providing enough slots in preschools and family daycare here in Merced County, that we have a lot of students, a lot of children, yet to be students that are whose parents are searching for daycare. And the report details how we've expanded in the last couple of years since COVID. Over 2,000 more slots have been provided for children whose parents are looking for daycare here in Merced County. So we're excited about what's happening with our early education division. Check that out on page 13 of the report. If you look at the next page on our Merced County Education Foundation, you'll see that the foundation specializes really in supporting activities outside the classroom. It provides grants for teachers as well as scholarships for children to participate in activities that are run by other organizations here in Merced County. We help fund those activities for kids, and we help renovate Camp Green Meadows. And this past fundraising event, we focused on providing, believe it or not, brand new mattresses that can be used more effectively for adults that use our camp in the summer. Cerebral Palsy out of Fresno brings folks up every year, about 40 adults, to use Camp Green Meadows to provide them with an outdoor experience that they wouldn't otherwise have. So great cause and a great group of people working hard to support not only children but adults in our community in many different ways. This last year, we also entered into a partnership with our friends at Behavioral Health, and we co-located several services right downtown at the Thorington building. Our grand opening was in June, and what's happened is Behavioral Health was able to write a grant to provide more specific services to children free of charge, no matter who they are, whether they're Medi-Cal or private pay, healthcare. There's a drop-in center right down the street at Thorington for students and youth who need some mental health services. And so Thorington has been a great new service for our community. We've located as well another new program called the California Youth Behavioral Health Initiative that houses 4 more clinicians that will be going out to schools to provide mental health for our children directly in their schools. And of course, one of my favorite topics, the Virginia Smith Trust. You all probably have been harassed by me in some way or another in the last couple of years to come to a city council or a board of supervisors meeting or maybe even a LAFCO meeting over the past couple of years to make sure that we got the VST property annexed so that we could fully monetize its value and provide even more scholarships for the children of Merced County. Remember, the Merced Promise originally started with the VST board promising to give the land that they controlled to the UC to bring the 10th campus to Merced County. That's all happened. We've now been annexed, and we're in the final phase of monetizing the property. And that final phase is finding a development partner, and probably one of the most challenging phases. But we know we're under the microscope. In fact, one of my board members shared just yesterday that he had a conversation with a pretty well-known local community member who said, "Dennis, you know that's the most valuable piece of property in Merced County, right?" And Dennis said, "Yeah, I know." And the community member said, "So don't screw it up. Make sure you get as much money as you can for that property so that we can fund those scholarships. And not just as much money as you can, but build a great community that will support the UC and its mission as well." So that's what we're about. That's what I'm still riding my hobby horse about. So we are continuing to work on that together. Folks, the future of school accountability is unknown, but I think that in a year from now when we meet again, we might be talking about the latest phase, the latest challenge to education, which for teachers is the use of artificial intelligence in the classroom. And how are we going to address the challenges that artificial intelligence brings? Well, we don't know. But maybe by next January, we'll have some ideas. So I look forward to seeing you again next January. I'm so happy that you're able to join us today. I hope you enjoyed your lunch. It really is the best free lunch in town all year long. You get a chance to meet with each other, corral some elected officials, make sure you plant a bug in their ear about what you need. But have a great rest of the day and enjoy this beautiful weather. Thanks again for coming. And I think I need to make sure that I get to one last slide, or is that Nathan's job? That's Nathan's job? All right, Nathan, it's all yours.
All right, well, thank you, Dr. Tejan. Times I turn this off. Thank you, Dr. Tejan, and thank you to Brandon for presenting today. I did just want to share, and thank you to all of our sponsors. Not only do we have the sponsors that are on the booklet, we have all these table sponsors. Thank you to all of you. The table sponsors, those monies go toward the Education Foundation for experiences outside the classroom for all kinds of students. So thank you for that. Finally, the last slide. To view more of this online, mcoe.org/annual report. All the videos, the report, previous reports, all 14 of them are up there. So thank you so much for being here today. Have a great afternoon.